Good morning, everybody. It is so great to see you here, and I am thrilled today because we are going to be talking about one destination that continues to intrigue me, Malta. And I am joined by my friends who are just the experts in this destination, and they're going to be able to share so many beautiful stories and key selling points for this very curious, very small island that packs an enormous punch when it comes to travel. So with that, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Gabriella from True Marketing. Just a couple of housekeeping updates and issues just so you can follow along most efficiently and effectively. We have a chat bar if you're watching this on Zoom, so you can actually type your questions in as we go and be able to engage with the partners and ask your questions, and we'll get to as many as possible. I promise you that. And what we'll also do is for our friends on Facebook watching, you can type those comments in the comment thread, and we'll get to as many of those as possible. And for anything we don't get to, we'll make sure that the partners address it one by one and be able to come back to you on that. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And I am pleased to share with you our panel today of experts. We have Alexia Camilleri from Conventions Malta, who's sitting in Malta right now. We have Michelle Buttigieg from the New York office of the Malta Tourism Authority, and she's local to me because I'm in New Jersey, so hi there. We have Gwenoline Leparoux from Coleridge Hotel, which is a curious, wonderful boutique hotel in Malta, and she'll be addressing some fun facts about the hotel product in Malta. And Trevor Zara, who many of you, if you've been on my webinars before, you've seen, who runs 360 meetings, our beloved DMC, and he's going to go into some amazing, amazing experiences and things that you probably never knew were possible in Malta. So I'm going to kick it off with Trevor. First, thank you all for joining us. And we had such a great response because so many people are intrigued. I remember my dad went to Malta. We traveled a lot, but he had gone to Malta when I was a little girl and came back and told me all these stories. And I said, I really have to get there. Just fascinating, fascinating place. And I've sort of been obsessed ever since. So Trevor, how are things on the ground? Tell us about Maltese, other than making me very jealous about the photos that you take on a daily basis that are actually real and unfiltered. Tell us about life on the ground in Malta and how you guys have been able to weather this storm and how you're going to come back stronger than ever.
Well, Gabriella, thank you for the lovely introduction, first of all. Good morning, everyone, and greetings from a very bright, sunny Malta. I'm here, you're there, and we're all in this together right now. Who are we? Malta. We are the smallest nation of the European Union. We're a small island right at the crossroads of the Mediterranean, just 60 miles south of Sicily, and within a 3-hour flight from most major European hub. The biggest question on everybody's mind at the moment, what are we doing? How is COVID affecting us? How is it affecting you? How is it affecting the hospitality industry in general? Life goes on, every now and again, I believe, and a lot of the Maltese people, most of the Maltese people do believe that throughout our life, we're dealt with different situations, different hurdles, and we all jump over those hurdles in one way or another. We will get through this. Our numbers are low, and just to put you into perspective, we have a total of 600 active cases of COVID at the moment. Since the very beginning, we have only had 24 deaths. So the numbers are really, really, really low. So we're living life normally. People are going out, restaurants are busy, the hotels are busy. Life, the only downside is traffic is back, but we have to put up with that. So we've had a great summer. We obviously did have a hit. Our airport was closed for a few months. We've been open since the 1st of July. Flights are picking up on a daily basis, and the situation's being managed very, very well. So that's. I'm not going to bore you with COVID. We hear COVID day in, day out on the news. But what I want to tell you about is Malta, who we are. We are a people who've been around for 2 millennia, more than 2 millennia, 7 millennia. The first people that landed in Malta, evidence of that is 7,000 years ago. So our history, we have been welcoming people. We've been organizing meetings for 7,000 years. Hard to believe? Well, we have the oldest freestanding temples in the world to prove that, and they date back to 5,500 BC. So they are megalithic structures. You will see this in the video that Malta Conventions Malta would be presenting. But who else are we? We're safe. We're a small country. We're actually, according to the United States State Department's risk index, we are the second safest country in the world. That puts us the safest in Europe. And not only from everything, financial stability, economic stability, political stability, terrorism, everything. So we are officially the safest place. And now when you're choosing a destination where you want to go on holiday, where you want to send your clients, where you want to organize your event, conference, or incentive, you want safety is the primary aspect that you're going to look at. And that's what your clients are going to ask you for. We're English speaking. It's an official language. We have two official languages, Maltese and English. So getting around, communication is as easy as it can ever be. We've surrounded by sea. The size, we are a smaller. Malta is, I believe, the exact measurements. We're 97 square miles, 316 square kilometers. Manhattan, okay, Manhattan spits into Malta 5 times over. So that's puts you into perspective on how small we are. Our runway, the airport, runs a third of the island. So when you think about it, you can actually walk across the whole island in a single day. I've cycled around the island in 6 hours. That's how long it takes. So it's a small. It is a really, really small place. So very easy to get around. Advantages of being small, plenty. You arrive at the airport. We guarantee, as a DMC, that your clients will be at their hotel within 30 minutes from exiting the door of the airport. Okay, we guarantee that. So that's how small we are. Transfer times, very, very simple. So it's not a case of people getting onto a coach and they're going to be spending 2 to 3 hours on a coach driving around. That doesn't exist in Malta. It doesn't work that way. So less time in the coach, more time enjoying yourself, seeing the sights, enjoying the incentives, enjoying the working at a conference. So you've got very, very little transfer times as you go along. More than that, we live life. The Maltese have a passion for life. We don't live to work. We work to live. Okay, so as much as we can enjoy ourselves at the same time, as much as we love our job, we really do want to make you happy, make you welcome. That's what we've been doing for 7,000 years. We've been welcoming people for 7,000 years. That's who we are.
I love it. I love
Gabriella?
7,000 years of receiving guests. Yes. And going through meetings and hosting people. And that's amazing. I think, what really kind of resonates with me also is the fact that you have so much to do and it can be enjoyed in a short period of time because Americans are very notoriously time challenged and we need quick getaways. And I think moving towards next year, we're going to try to do more in a year, more trips. And I think Malta is one of those destinations that you could do easily as either a standalone or an add-on with even with a very short time frame. So we're going to move over to, We're going to start with Michelle, and she's going to dive into some of the beautiful emotions, experiences, and some of the real highlights of this beloved island. So I will turn it over to you to begin.
Thank you so much, Gabriella. And I think Trevor already said a lot about who we are and what we do in Malta. It is a little bit hard for us to go through Malta's history and all that we can offer in a few slides. As Trevor said, we do have 7,000 years of history. But we'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to be here. Again, I'm Michelle Buttigieg, and I represent the Malta Tourism Authority here in North America. And I'm together with my colleague Alexia Camilleri from Conventions Malta. And we're very happy to be here. So thank you again and welcome everyone and good morning. So just to go through some facts. If Gabriela can have, yes, thank you. I'd like to say where we are located first, and Trevor already touched on that. 58 South from the shores of Sicily makes us very centrally located in Europe. And with Americans, I've been in the States for 23 years, and people ask me where I come from. And, not everybody knows where Malta is located. So in all our presentations here, we'd like to start by saying where we are. Just a few facts about Malta. Again, Travel already touched a little bit on these, but we are 216 kilometers squares. And as Trevor mentioned, Manhattan is actually the size of Gozo. And the island of Malta, the mainland, is the size of Washington, D.C., just to give you a prospect of how big we are. A little bit under 500,000 inhabitants. We boast 300 days of sunshine, which makes us an all-year-round destination. We are the smallest nation in the EU, therefore we use the European currency, the EU currency. We are English speaking, which we will touch on that a little later on. Accessibility through any various flights and connections through Europe. We do not have a direct flight from North America yet, but we are easily accessed to any major hub in Europe. Excellent infrastructure, and the small size helps, as Trevor said. We are described as a haven, and we are really renowned for our hospitality. 7,000 years of welcoming people, as Trevor mentioned, makes it embedded in our DNA to be hospitable. When you do come to Malta, you're not just gonna go back with a picture, you're going back with an experience. You are going to meet a character, you're gonna make friends with somebody, and that's an experience you wanna take with you. See the next. History and culture. Again, we do not have enough time, but just wanted to point out a few main civilizations that have been through that left an imprint on our island. As a Maltese living abroad, I think the most amazing thing for me is to go back to the islands and actually still see and experience its history. The Knights of Malta were in Malta for over 200 years and left us with some of the most beautiful infrastructure, medieval cities, walled cities with beautiful bastions. This history makes our island an open-air museum. And why is this important for meetings? It is because while you are there, you can have different setups, which Trevor will go through later on, which makes it really easy for us to showcase our history. Whether you're sitting in a palazzo or you're sitting on the bastions in the capital city of Valletta, you're kind of in living in history, and you're living like a local. So from megalithic temples all the way to the British colony, where you can still see the red telephone booth and the red post box, and giving us the opportunity to also be English speaking, to modern Malta. It's a bustling, thriving European Union country with its modern facilities. Connectivities, as we said, we are well connected to any major hub in Europe. Of course, we are, post-COVID, we are up to what I would say about 50% to the original flights that we used to have coming in. So whether your clients are flying in from Italy, France, Germany, Austria, any connection is possible. The beautiful thing also is because of the frequency of flights, you can have bigger groups coming in, and I'm sure Trevor will tap into the infrastructure of flying people in. Alexa will also go through some COVID protocols a little bit later on. We will be sending you a follow-up with all this information as well. We can go to the next one. As we said, ease of communication. We're very lucky. We have two official languages, Maltese and English. For those who don't know what Maltese is, it's one of the only semi-Semitic languages left in the world, derived from ancient Aramaic, Arabic, and Latin. It's written in Roman letters, and we are very proud to actually have our own language. 500,000. We're very proud of our language, but we're also proud that we speak English. Everybody speaks English, and all the signs in the streets and in hotels and in guidebooks and everything is in English. So it's very easy to communicate while you're in Malta. Infrastructure, we're blessed, as I said. Not only this comes from the rich culture and the rich history. Hotel wise, we have an array of hotels in the islands, from the main chain hotels to the smaller boutique hotels, to the historical palaces and infrastructures that can be used for events. What you are looking at is actually the Mediterranean Center Conference, which used to be an original hospital for the Knights of Malta, built in Valletta. And this place is just amazing. For me, one of my favorites. Short transfer times, as Trevor said, this is a big plus. Your itineraries are not going to be filled with long distance traveling from one place to the other. You're going to get to places in a very short time, whether in vintage cars or vintage buses, a picture that you can see in front of you, to coaches and modern cars, yachts and private boats, to take you from one island to the other. This is all very feasible. And in the next slide, it just gives you an idea of the times of from one point to the other. So for an example, you arrive at the airport, you're about 20 minutes away from Valletta. This also makes an itinerary really interesting. You could do different things in the same day, puts the cost down. And as Gabriella mentioned, us North Americans, we like to check off. I want to see this, I want to see that. So in a place like Malta, where it's very contained, you can actually do a lot of that in the same experience and the same event. We are surrounded by the beautiful Mediterranean Sea. We were voted second best for diving last year. 20 meters visibility in the water gives us the opportunity to see under the sea as much as we see on land. And there is definitely a lot to see underwater. Our climate is an all year round destination with very mild winters. So the sun is always shining, gives the possibility to be outdoors and do events on an outdoors basis, which is probably something that will be more popular in the future, in the recent future, in the near future. Now I'll pass on to Alexia, who's going to take you to the second part of the presentation.
So thank you, Michelle, and hello, welcome everyone. So I'm going to continue on the professional and reliable service that Malta offers. So there are several DMCs that specialize in the US and the North American market, one of which is in fact 360 Meetings, who are with us today to present some of our sample activities which can be organized on the islands. Just to give you an idea, I'll just skim through some photos quickly. So here we have quad bikes. You can organize Segway tours, Jeep tours. On the next slide, we can also see some trekking activities. So some trekking activities, abseiling, any kind of adventurous activities if you have an adventurous group. And on the next slide, we can also see some photos with boat trips. Malta is very well renowned for its boat trips around the caves and surrounded by natural landscapes. And with our very nice Mediterranean Sea, it's definitely an experience worth considering to include in any incentive program. So with short transfer times, with 300 days of sunshine and our heartwarming hospitality, the possibilities are endless, really. Now, value for time and money. So our islands offer luxury for less. We have numerous 5-star and 4-star properties, which range from large-scale international chains to new luxury boutique properties, including the Coleridge, who are also with us today to present their property as well. Luxury accommodation Malta, it's on the increase. It's less expensive than similar hotels in Europe, which puts us very much at an advantage. Also, to our advantage is the fact that most of these hotels are clustered within walking distance. So this enables event organizers to split up large groups over different properties. Now, on the next slide, we'll mention UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So Molten Goat Zone have 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, which include megalithic temples, which are older than the pyramids of Egypt. One of these UNESCO World Heritage Sites is, in fact, the European Capital City of Culture for 2018, Valletta. Fun fact, it actually took around 8,000 to 9,000 people to build the city of Valletta, which was built by the Knights of the St. John. And it's also the smallest national capital in the European Union at 0.8 kilometers squared. So the city of Valletta is very well renowned with its historic culture and its old world atmosphere. So you can find historical landmarks, quaint coffee shops, and elaborate churches around the city. The sister islands of Gozo and Comino. So a trip to Malta definitely isn't complete without a visit to its sister islands. So while Malta is more of a cultural, commercial, and administrative center, we would say, Gozo then, on the other hand, is more renowned for its rural and agricultural setting, typically associated, in fact, with incentives. And then situated between the islands is the small island of Comino, which is practically home to the most spectacular diving, snorkeling, and boating experiences, as my colleague Michelle mentioned as well. It's also very well known for its magnificent Blue Lagoon. Now, on the next slide, we can mention, sorry, this is a photo of the island of Gozo. Now, on the next slide, we'll go more into Malta's famous hospitality. We'll dive into the culinary experiences in Malta. So as an island, we offer travelers a diverse culinary experience. So we range from the traditional Mediterranean plate to the never-ending vineyards delivering the finest of wines. Earlier on this year, we've also had the pleasure to announce the launch of the Michelin Guide Malta. So we've had 3 restaurants having been awarded their first star, whereas we also had another 3 restaurants which have been awarded Bib Gourmands. An extensive calendar of events. So our year-long calendar of events and festivals provides a diverse option of unique, culturally immersive experiences which can complement any conference and incentive program. So with the Rolex Middle Sea Race, we have the Isle of MTV, the Malta Fireworks Festival, the Malta Arts Festival, the classic car races. There's a niche for everyone to include. I'll just also mention that we have several MTA offices around the globe. I myself am situated in Malta, and then we also have our colleague Michelle amongst all the other offices around the world. Our colleague Michelle is situated in New York, as previously mentioned. I'm just quickly also going to skim through some COVID protocols which are currently aligned. So the Malta International Airport officially reopened its doors on the 1st of July. The setups in the airport have more or less been digitalized. Basically, we want to avoid crowding. We want to avoid as much contact as possible. There has also been more rigorous cleaning introduced around the premises, which are all aligned by all European standards required. And obviously, there are then certain restrictions and certain protocols as per country. We'll send you all this information after the event. When it comes to events in Malta, gatherings of less than 100 persons are allowed. Obviously, they would need to follow specific protocols. Gatherings of more than 100 pax then need to be approved by us, the Malta Tourism Authority. And the maximum people allowed indoors is 100 persons. The maximum outdoors is 300. There are also several protocols for anyone who is interested. We'll be sending all this information afterwards. As Trevor mentioned, we've practically been living a normal life. So our restaurants and establishments have reopened to the public. There have been certain protocols which have been put in place, more sanitization, the introduction of social distancing, of course. Establishments would need to operate with food, specifically with food, in order for them to operate. And obviously the Malta Tourism Authority is conducting inspections and has also carried out checks before they have been certified as COVID compliant. When it comes to the general public, we've been getting used to the situation. Now it's the new norm, as we would say. So we're currently going out with face masks and shields, which have been made mandatory in closed public spaces, and hand sanitizers have been introduced at entry and exit points. So that's just skimming through a bit on the COVID protocols. I'll hand over to Gwendoline to introduce the Coleridge to everyone.
And that was great. Just to sort of tip back in, we did have a couple of questions that I just wanted to address to Michelle and Alexia just before we go over to the hotel product. One question came in, I guess, Michelle, this would be good for you. Questions on airlift from some of the key cities in the U.S. What would you recommend? Maybe let's pick New York, Chicago, and L.A. What's the best connectivity?
So, being that we are connected through many major hubs in Europe, depending on what your client sometimes wants to fly. So, whether through Germany, Lufthansa, New York, New York, Munich, New York, Frankfurt. I wouldn't just pick New York. It's like all major hubs like Atlanta, LA, Toronto, Chicago, Boston, Miami, and anywhere to, UK, Amsterdam, Germany, France, Rome. Turkish Airlines has a great connection through Istanbul, a little bit longer, but nevertheless, great airlines and great connection. So again, depending what your client, there is definitely an array of airlines that one can take.
Fantastic. So easy connections, and that's what people want. So I'm glad that we addressed that. Okay, so what I learned about Malta over the last couple of years is that they have a really interesting hotel product array. Really curious, charming boutique hotels, very uniquely designed, larger hotels to accommodate the groups, as Alexia alluded to. But really, there's such an interesting selection. So we have Gwendoline, who's from the Coleridge, which is one of those said boutique hotels. And she's piping in straight from the property. And she's going to go through her property and talk a little bit about the interesting hotel product in Malta that you may not know about. So I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I hope the presentation of my colleagues already made you want to come actually and visit Malta. So as Gabriela said, I'm at the moment in the Coleridge Hotel, which is a small boutique hotel located in Valletta, so in the capital city of Malta. We are a very small property. We have actually 6 suites. They are all different, all unique. The name of our hotel actually comes from a famous poet who was Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Basically, as I mentioned, we have 6 suites, and all the suites are named after some famous people that were mentioned in the poems of Coleridge. So it's one of the fun facts about our hotel. Apart from that, so we also serve a continental breakfast in our cellar, so in underground basically, which is very, very cozy. So our smaller room is about 19 square meter, and then the other suites are very, very large. They are about 42 square meters, and we also have a penthouse suite which has a jacuzzi on the roof terrace, which is very, very nice at the moment. People actually really enjoy it at this season and find it also very, very safe because they have their own private jacuzzi, so they don't need basically to share with anyone else. So the feedback that we received recently is that they feel very, very secure. We also have duplex suite, which is about 65 square meters with a kitchen and a dining area on the ground floor and a bedroom with a bathroom on the top floor. So what I would like to present as well now is a few of the protocols that have been put in place in order to prevent COVID. Now, as my colleagues already mentioned before, life goes on here in Malta, but it wouldn't be possible without the series and the list of protocols that were introduced at the beginning of July. Now there is an extensive list, so I am not going to bore you with everything. I just want basically to mention the main protocols. So what is very, very important is social distancing. So as Alexia mentioned before, social distancing is very, very important. We respect the distance in all the inside areas. For example, in hotels, there are signs on the floor so that the guest would wait in a certain distance. Some glass perspex were also installed in hotels in order to separate the staff from the guests. So social distancing is very, very important. It's the same in restaurants. There were some measures taken about social distancing. For example, the chairs between each other needs to be a minimum of 2 meters, and there is also a minimum number of person of one guest per 4 square meters allowed. So this is really in order to maintain social distancing and to have a safe environment. Now, in the next slide, you are going to see a few of the protocols that were put in place since July. So, first of all, what is important to mention is that all the staff needs to wear a mask or a visor in all the areas of the hotel or the restaurant, shops, anywhere you go. Even guests, when in a hotel or restaurant, need to wear a mask or a visor in the public areas. So wherever they are, the guest also needs to be protected. Now, if porter service is offered, the porter would be using sanitizing wipe, okay, to touch the handle of the luggage. Temperature control, also very important, is done at the entrance of each hotel, restaurant, or shops. So the temperature, if anyone has a temperature higher than 37.2 degrees Celsius, they have to isolate themselves. So ourselves at the Coleridge, we obviously register the temperature of all the guests coming in and out, even the suppliers. Okay, it's very, very important. And we have a record of all the temperature of all the persons that entered the hotel. So we keep really track of the temperatures. Alcohol dispensers are placed as well at reception or in the public toilets, at the entrance of the restaurants. So basically, everywhere the guests can access, and they have to sanitize their hands before entering the premises. Ourselves, as well as a staff, we sanitize our hands, of course. As I mentioned, even suppliers before entering the hotels need to sanitize their hands. It's important as well to note that there is also a social distancing in the elevators. Okay, so only people from the same party are allowed to share the lift. Otherwise, only one person at a time is allowed in the lift. This is to basically prevent the spread of germs, just as a precaution. Now, regarding the cleaning of the rooms and the public areas, so it's important to mention that before the hotels reopened, deep cleaning was done. Okay, so all the hotels disinfected every single areas of the hotels, the restaurants, and so on. Now, there are some special disinfectant spray which are used for cleaning. High contact surfaces are cleaned every hour, and the cleaning has to be documented. So by high contact surface, we mean the switches, the lift button, the handrails, and so on. So this has to be disinfected thoroughly every hour. And the housekeepers also have to wear the personal protection equipment, which includes clothes, shoes, disposable apron, and also gloves. So they have a full equipment, and it has to be disposable. So once they're ready, they will dispose of the equipment and then replace it for the next day. Air conditioning filter are also cleaned every week, and the records are kept. So you can see that there is really a lot of procedures that are put in place regarding the cleaning of the rooms and the public area. Now, some brief other protocols that are put in place. At the reception, for example, it is compulsory to have a list of telephone numbers of the public hospital, the clinics, the medical centers, and so on. And they have to be accessible to all our guests. There is also a key card deposit box, which is placed at the reception so that the guests can dispose of their key once they check out, and the keys would be disinfected before being reused. Now, in restaurants, or for example, even ourselves at the Coleridge, for breakfast, we are not serving a buffet anymore. Now, if buffet has to be offered, it has to be waiter served, so which means that the guests cannot help themselves. Usually, the a la carte is recommended, and this is what we offer our guests here at the Coleridge Hotel. Also, regarding restaurants, disposable condiments are used now. So we are not using, for example, big bottles of olive oil. Now it has to be every item has to be single use. And the same for the menus and wine list. They have to be single used as well. Nowadays, what a lot of restaurants are doing is also using the QR code that give you access to the menu online. Otherwise, if this is not available, the menus have to be single use. So it's important as well to note that the staff is trained and is always reminded to practice good hygiene. So there are posters all over the hotel. For example, here at the Coleridge, there is poster in the staff area to remind the staff always to wash their hands, sanitize their hands, cough in a tissue, and even how to wash properly their hands, because it might seem something very, very simple. However, washing properly the hands actually is a bit of a technique. Now, I would like to finish about COVID protocol by mentioning certificate that was introduced by Malta Tourism Authority. Basically, the certificate is given to every establishment that is compliant with the COVID-19 safety protocols. So what happens is how it works basically is that inspectors come and visit the hotels or the restaurants, and they have obviously a list of criteria to study, and they check if the hotel is compliant with all the criteria, and if it is the case, they would basically award the certificate to the establishment. And at the Coleridge, we have also this certificate. So this is a sign for customer that the establishment is safe and is following all the protocols in place in order to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. So I hope that
Excellent.
after
Well, that
all
was
this we will see you in Malta safe and sound.
That was brilliant. And I really appreciate you going so into detail, because I think that there's so many questions that everybody has surrounding travel now. And I think you left no stone unturned there. And people really do want to know, what's it like to eat in a restaurant? How are hotels managing all of this? And I think you did an excellent job to clear that up. Thank you so much. And finally, we're going to go over to Trevor, who is going to bring us some unique experiences. Again, what I said before, things you didn't know were possible, and how he suggests you best explore the island, whether you're coming on leisure or with a group. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks again, Gabriella and Gwenoline. That was a real detailed overview of COVID procedures. Well done. Thank you very much for that. I hope all those procedures, you can tell that we've really taken this thing seriously. We want to get back to normal as quickly as possible. I'm going to take you through a couple of this is 360 meetings. This is my company. We set up the company 12 years ago, and we've been doing fairly well. Can't complain at all. But I'm going to take you through some unique selling points, some unique areas about Malta, some fun facts. Why should you choose the Maltese Islands for your clients? First of all, imagine an island surrounded by sea, 300 days of sunshine. That's a fact, okay? The average of 300 days of sunshine throughout the whole year. This is one of our favorite venues in the picture. It's a restaurant right up in the north, sitting on the water's edge. Look at the color of that water. It's absolutely stunning. The background there, you've got Comino. Now, for those of you who enjoy a good movie, Comino was one of the main areas which was used as a movie background. And if any of you remember seeing that movie with Brad Pitt, Troy, which was filmed about, I think it was about 15 years ago, there's a particular scene in this movie where Troy is actually saying goodbye to his mother. And that scene was filmed in the middle of the Blue Lagoon on Comino. Moving on to the next slide. We're small. I've already mentioned this, that we're small. So short transfer times, far more experiences, a lot more time for people to experience the island. Like I already said, we guarantee 30 minutes from airport to hotel. Our average time, I think, is about 18 minutes getting from the airport to the hotel. So it is really smaller than you can possibly imagine. On to the next slide. We are the second safest country in the world. First in Europe, and this is according to the United States State Department's risk index. I've mentioned this as well. I have two daughters. At the age of 14 and 15, I used to drop them off on a Saturday morning down at the main shopping mall. They'd spend the whole day there with their friends, going around, doing things, and they're not picking them up. It's that safe. You can walk. If you're a single woman, you're out in the evening, you want to go for a stroll outside, you can do that. You don't have to look over your shoulder. It is really, really, really safe. Cultural heritage. We have one of the richest histories, the richest cultural heritage. This picture that you're seeing over here, this is our main co-cathedral. Now you'll ask, why is it a co-cathedral and not a cathedral? Simple reason is that the old capital city of Malta was Mdina, which is a little city perched on top of a hill. And in 1565, when Malta was attacked by the Turkish Empire, we won, okay? 25,000 Turkish soldiers attacked the island, and we defended it with 600 knights and 2,000 farmers with pitchforks, and we won. So we were attacked, but they didn't beat us. And as a legacy, Grandmaster Lavalette at the time decided to build a fortified city, which is Valletta, named after himself. And this photo that you're seeing is the co-cathedral of St. John. So the original cathedral is in Mdina, but the residents of Mdina said, you'll take our capital city, but you will not take our cathedral. So they had to call it a co-cathedral. Now what you are seeing is inlaid gold. So the walls have all got gold leaf on them. The paintings are original on the ceiling, painted by Mattia Preti. And the richness of this co-cathedral is absolutely incredible. And every single grandmaster that served in Malta is buried in this church. We're surrounded by sea. Activities, 300 days of sunshine, as I said, it's a year-round destination. Whatever your experience, whatever your clients want to do, we can adapt it accordingly, whether it's on the sea, whether it's on land. old coastal towers. The red tower down there that you see at the bottom right-hand picture, that dates to the early 1700s. When the early 1600s, when Grandmaster Alafunia Court wanted to fortify the defenses of Malta, following up on La Valette's defense policy, he set up these 13 towers dotted around the whole island, and they were manned 24 hours. And if an attack was seen coming along, they would light a fire on the roof, and the island would go up to full alert in a matter of minutes, faster than today's email or WhatsApp. So when you think about it, it was really, really, really quick. So again, Valletta, looking at the whole city, it's a UNESCO World Heritage City. Valletta was in fact the very first UNESCO site, the first city to be declared as a UNESCO site anywhere in the world. It's a title we are extremely proud of, and this is what the streets look like. All these stairs running through. Now, look very closely at those stairs. If you know of a movie called World War Z, which is again with Brad Pitt, full of zombies chasing after each other, that's the street where you see all the zombies piling up on top of each other, falling down the streets. So that's where it is filmed. What's happening in Valletta today? Jurassic World Dominion Part 3. It's being filmed in Valletta as we speak. So Malta, again, because of the English language, because of the adaptable weather, we get a huge list of movies, famous big blockbuster movies. And I'll mention a few: Troy, Gladiator, Munich, Captain Phillips, Da Vinci Code, Game of Thrones, Season 1 was all filmed in Malta. Now, that's how adaptable, that's how easy it is to get to Malta. We're vibrant, we're flexible in every possible way. Which brings me to the whole archipelago. And on the next slide, Maltese archipelago is made up of 5 islands. So you've got Malta and Gozo, which are the 2 main inhabited islands. You have Comino, population 3. Just 3 people live on the island of Comino. It's a family. They've been living there for, I think, about 100 years now. They don't own the island. The island is owned by the Maltese people, but they actually have their settlement there. And then we have 2 other uninhabited islands, which are Filfla and Cominetto. Cominetto is within the Blue Lagoon, and Filfla is off the coast, is about 3 miles off the coast of the island, and that was used primarily for target practice just after the war. What can we do in terms of activities? Plenty. Using the sea, we really do use the sea a lot. We're blessed to have an average temperature, water temperature of 22 degrees. It drops down to about 17 degrees centigrade, not Fahrenheit. 22 degrees, you're looking at about 65, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a really nice temperature. Look at scuba diving, crystal clear. The scuba diver you're seeing swimming with the fish, that's actually possible. We have a tuna farming industry, and you can actually jump into the tuna pens and swim with these giant 300 kilo. That's 900 pounds of fish, and you can actually swim with them. Turkish-style gullets, speedboats, kayaking, high adrenaline powerboats, sailing regattas. These are all things that bring teams together. So if you've got an incentive, if you've got a conference, you want to take a day off or an afternoon off, activities together, bringing everyone together, then we use the sea, we use the land quite a lot. We get into local aspects, abseiling, reenactments. We've had so many different people come into Malta and live here. Our legacy is based on the Phoenicians, the Carthaginians, the Romans, the Arabs, the Christians. The knights, the legacy that the knights left us over 400 years. They gave us our currency, they gave us our whole infrastructure. The palaces that we have in Valletta and around the island are just something. And these palaces are open to the public. So you can not only go in them, but we can actually organize gala events in them. We can organize entertainment, conferences. Michelle earlier mentioned the Mediterranean Conference Center. The Mediterranean Conference Center was Europe's first hospital. It's one of the largest hospitals of its time. It was built and run by the Knights of St. John. And why the Knights of St. John? They were hospitaliers. That's what they did. So the concept of nursing as we know it today is what the Knights were really all about. They only became fighters and protectors by default. So they had no choice. But the Mediterranean Conference Centre is one of the best venues that we've got on the island, and it is the most popular, where it can seat up to 2,000 people on a gala dinner event. Otherwise, outdoor events, we use a lot of local produce, culinary events. We do support local, we do support organic, we do promote the local industry as much as possible. If you just move on to the next slide, please. Salt harvesting, which has been around from the time of the Knights, purpose-built salt pans, local cheeses, olive oil, grapes, wines, everything. These are all things that we can actually organize. Where, depending on the time of the year, we take people to harvest the salt, to make cheese, to cut the grapes, cut the olives, make olive oil, do the tastings, and all this around. And what we like to do is we like to take people around on open top jeeps to the different areas, and they sample half an hour to 45 minutes of each of these different activities as we go along. Moving on to the next slide, an idea of some of the beaches that we use. The top left, that's in Golden Bay, and the northern side, also Golden Bay. They're all in the north. The main beaches are in the north of the island. Very accessible. There's no long steps to get down. They're all accessible by car or by bus and a short walk. Movie sets. One of the first. What made Malta a great movie destination? Myself, I'm old enough to remember. It was Robin Williams with his movie Popeye. Popeye was a Hollywood flop. It was a complete flop, but it did shoot Robin Williams to stardom. And I was all filmed in Malta. And the Popeye Village set is actually there to this day, and it is used as a main incentive venue. We organize a lot of events there, especially where we're integrating movie making with all the groups that we have. We have a concept of golf buggies that go around the old towns of Birgu and Vittoriosa and Kilcara. They are some of the oldest towns. They date back to the 1200s. And the bottom right hand photo that you can see, those are our traditional Maltese fishing boats. They are called the Lutzus. It's very, very stable. They look a bit dodgy, but they're really, really stable. They can withstand gale force winds in the worst of conditions. Different types of transportation that we offer. The old buses that are coming up on the next slide. These used to be our public transport buses. Can we just move on to the next slide, Tech, please? These were our public buses until 10 years ago. Okay, so we used to, our public bus system was based on 50-year-old buses, and they were a joy. They really were a joy. Unfortunately, due to regulations, we had to remove them off the road, but a few of them have had their engines changed. They've been upgraded. And I think we've got about 18 of them available on the road. So if we have a group, we can actually pick them up in these old style open door buses. No air conditioning, just open your slide windows. There's no door, the door remains open. And it is a really great experience. Other aspects, classic cars. We have a huge collection of classic cars on the island. So we can actually get up to 150 cars together. And people, we can organize transfers in these classic cars, or the traditional minis. We can also organize the minis as well to take people from point to point. And the other point of transfer is we can actually meet clients at the airport, transfer them to the main harbor, put them on a boat, on a large gullet-style ship, as you're seeing in the picture, and transfer them to the hotels. Most of the five-star hotels are located on the beach, on the shore, and we can actually organize that transfer. We're gonna show you a video which is about 5 minutes long, and it's literally all of these events that we organized for a particular event that we had, and it just shows pretty much, in short, all these events and how we go about setting up conferences and everything. If we can show that first video, please. I'm here. Hope you enjoyed that little video. It was a little bit long. It just gives you an overview of what we can do and how we go about doing it. That was an event spread over 6 days where we basically looked after about 1,200 people in total, and it just gives a really good overview. A little bit about us. 360 meetings. We are a very small DMC. It's just four of us in the office at the moment. We're bored at the moment. Give us some business. You know, COVID's. We're going to get over this hurdle. 2021. We're looking ahead. We're geared up. We're ready. We're creative. We come up with different innovative ideas, different concepts. We're constantly thinking new things. And it always, when I get onto this slide, I always think of the movie Armageddon. Everybody's seen this movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis. And when Bruce Willis turns around to NASA and he tells them, you're always thinking good things up. You come up with good ideas. Think this up, he says. Get it out there. We do that. We come up with constant different ideas to ensure that what we do is tailored for your clients. So whoever they are, tell us what they want to do, and we will create something for them. Our attention to detail. I run every event personally. I'm on the ground, I'm behind the scenes from beginning to very end. So you're going to make contact with me. You're going to see me on the ground when the client is here. I want to interact with the client. I want to be there. The reason why I take care of every single event is that I want to make sure that it's done properly and to the speeds where decisions are fast and we're on the board. So if a client wants something on site, there and then, we're going to do it, and I can take that decision. And it's not a case of turning around to the client and saying, hey, hang on a second, I just need to go and check with the boss. I am the boss. I can take that decision. So it really is fast. Attention to detail, value for time. We've been preaching value for time for 10 years, 12 years, ever since we started our company. So value for money, yes, it's there. But time, you can refund money, you can give it back to the client, you can not charge your client, but you can't replace time lost. Once that time has been spent, it's gone forever. So this is where we really value the time that the client spends with us, and our time with them is really important. An overview of local weather, mild winters, warm summers. Again, like I said, we use the sea, we use the weather, 300 days of sunshine. Now, these temperatures are in degrees centigrade. I'm very well aware you deal in Fahrenheit. An average of 80 in July and August. It's from March through to October, pretty much your weather is guaranteed. We had our first major storm last week. It hadn't rained since March. So we had a completely dry summer season with no rain at all. So unfortunately, we had COVID. That's what can you do? And here are a few on the next slide. Why would you choose us? We're meticulous, we're experienced, and we're passionate at what we do because we love doing what we do. A few of our clients, and I'm going to leave you with one last video of an event, huge client that we had. You all know Facebook. They chose us as their partner here in Malta for their event. Here's a short clip of what we did for them.
all on behalf of the Facebook team for such a great attendance.
So there you are. I'm going to close off my presentation with just one more little thing. 360 meetings, specialist destination management. We organize events, we organize incentives, we organize conferences. We have another part of the business which is called Beyond 360, and this is where we specialize in very high-end luxury travel. So FITs. We've had celebrities, we've had movie stars, we've had footballers, soccer players. We've even had 2 royal families that we've had to that we've been there for. So any requests you have, Gabriella, you've got her contact details, you've got my contact details. Any information about Conventions Malta that you need, we're here. We're open for business, and we're waiting for you. So bring it on.
Love it. That was just so passionate and emotional, and we can really clearly see that you have a deep love for your destination. And after seeing these comments and everybody sort of scrolling through here, it is clear that I'm sure everybody watching this is, as soon as they possibly can, is going to make that booking. This was wonderful. I want to just bring it back to all of the panelists and the speakers here. You did an amazing job at conveying how incredibly unique this destination is. So many positive comments already. So what we'll do is, for everybody watching this, we'll make sure that you have each person's contact information so that you can go forward to them directly if you have any questions moving forward. I really want to thank you again. This was so much fun for me and so much fun for everybody who watched. We all learned something new. You certainly are a resilient island, a resilient people. And just watching some of those videos really made me a bit emotional, because I can't wait till we get to a point till we can be in those groups again together and celebrating and more en masse. But until then, a safe destination, a beautiful one. And I want to just wave goodbye to all of you. Thank you again. And we will have you back.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you for
everyone.
joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.